The opulent atmosphere of the jewelry exhibition shattered in an instant. Out of nowhere, masked robbers stormed through the entrance, one firing a deafening warning shot into the air. Guests screamed, scattering in panic. Security guards rushed to intervene but were quickly overpowered, disarmed and shoved aside like amateurs. Shards of glass rained down as the robbers smashed display cases, their boots crunching over glittering remnants as they moved swiftly through the showroom. At the heart of it all stood the centerpiece, a priceless diamond necklace resting beneath reinforced glass. Without hesitation, the gang leader approached, his gloved fist slamming down violently, shattering the case. He snatched the necklace, holding it high as he sneered at the terrified crowd. "Is this all you people protect your treasures with?" he mocked loudly, spinning the diamond necklace arrogantly in his hand. The room fell eerily silent. Guests cowered under tables, others frozen behind pillars, clutching their phones, but no one dared step forward. Security lay incapacitated, the staff paralyzed, helpless to stop the unfolding chaos. Near the back of the room, one man remained calm. Jason Statham stood still, casually lowering his drink to the table beside him. His sharp gaze locked firmly on the robbers. His expression unreadable, eyes cold, focused, not panicked. The robbers began signaling to each other, preparing for a clean exit with their prize secured, confident no one would stop them. Jason, without a word, slowly slipped off his jacket, folding it neatly over the chair. He stepped toward the gang, posture controlled, measured. The leader caught sight of him, smirked dismissively, until Jason closed the distance, his calm, lethal energy unmistakable. That was the moment everything shifted. Before we proceed, like and subscribe to catch Jason Statham's epic face-off with robbers, and comment where you're watching from today. The Grand Monarch Hotel's ballroom gleamed beneath a ceiling of crystal chandeliers. Velvet ropes, marble floors, and glass display cases showcased rare, priceless jewels. The atmosphere buzzed with elegance and prestige, a highly anticipated jewelry exhibition known for attracting the city's elite. Cameras flashed intermittently as photographers snapped photos of high-profile guests mingling over champagne. Center stage, beneath its own halo of security and spotlights, rested the crown jewel of the evening, a legendary diamond necklace said to be worth tens of millions. A curated blend of luxury, wealth, and high society, every detail screamed exclusivity. Tight security, metal detectors at every entrance, uniformed guards stationed strategically across the room. The media circled, covering the glamorous event live, while guests marveled at the sheer opulence surrounding them. Among the sharply dressed crowd, Jason Statham moved quietly, blending seamlessly. Dressed in a tailored dark suit, he carried himself with relaxed ease, nodding politely when greeted by familiar faces. Despite his calm exterior, his eyes never stopped scanning. Years of instinct kept him alert, reading the room, clocking exits, watching for anything out of rhythm. Though invited as a VIP guest, Jason remained understated, more observer than participant. The way he subtly positioned himself near the edges of the crowd, casually sipping from a glass, made it clear, while others were dazzled by diamonds, he was watching something else entirely. His sharp gaze flicked occasionally toward the necklace centerpiece, and toward the uniformed guards stationed nearby, already noting small details others missed. Unbeknownst to most guests, several men moved through the exhibition with practiced ease. Dressed like wealthy patrons, they blended effortlessly, exchanging brief nods and scanning the security setup. This was not their first heist. The gang was infamous within underground circles, highly organized, well-equipped, known for executing violent, efficient robberies across multiple countries. Their leader, a cold and calculating man with a history of leaving chaos in his wake, was already plotting every second of the operation. He'd studied the guards' rotations, security weak points, and, most importantly, timed everything to perfection. They weren't here to create a mess. They were here to walk out with the necklace before anyone even thought to resist. The hotel's visible security seemed tight enough on the surface. Metal detectors at the entrance, guest lists checked thoroughly, uniformed guards stationed at regular intervals, radios clipped to their belts. Bodyguards accompanying VIP guests added another layer of apparent control. Yet to trained eyes like Jason's, or the gang's, the cracks were already showing. The guards were stationed more for show than substance, relying on intimidation rather than real strategy. Their routines were predictable, their attention distracted by the event's high-profile guests and the constant requests for photo ops. They didn't expect trouble inside these polished walls, which made the venue the perfect target for professionals who knew how to exploit complacency. As Jason casually walked past the buffet, his instincts flickered. Out of the corner of his eye, he caught subtle but telling signs. Two men standing slightly apart, scanning more than admiring. One's jacket bulged unnaturally at the waist. Another seemed too focused on the guard's movements, occasionally checking the exits instead of the exhibits. Jason's gaze narrowed slightly, no alarm yet, but enough to make him mentally clock the faces. He took another slow sip of his drink, filing away what he saw. Whatever was about to happen, Jason sensed it brewing long before the first shot fired. The subtle tension Jason sensed moments earlier snapped violently. It began without warning. The same men Jason had noticed earlier, those who moved too deliberately, watched too closely, suddenly sprang into action. One by one, they reached inside their jackets, pulling out sleek, silenced pistols. Within seconds, masked accomplices burst in through the main entrance, tossing small smoke bombs onto the polished marble floor. Thick plumes of gray smoke filled the elegant space, sending guests into chaotic disarray. Screams erupted, heels scraping against floors as people ducked behind velvet-draped tables and decorative pillars. Security guards scrambled but found themselves quickly neutralized, disarmed, tackled, or violently shoved to the ground before they had time to react. It was clear the robbers knew every inch of the layout, every security blind spot. Amid the confusion, the gang moved like clockwork. Shouts echoed across the exhibition hall as two men swiftly locked the exits, barring any escape. Another disabled the alarm panel discreetly tucked behind a display. Panic spread through the crowd as the smoke thickened, guests coughing, huddling close to the ground, paralyzed by shock and fear. But Jason Statham remained still. Eyes narrowed, jaw tight, he watched each calculated move unfold, their synchronized precision, their utter control over the space. No random chaos. No sloppy execution. This was the work of seasoned professionals who had done this many times before. At the center of it all stood their leader, a tall, lean man whose mask barely concealed the confidence radiating from him. Unlike the others, he wasn't rushing. He moved purposefully, almost casually, weaving through toppled chairs and shattered glass until he reached the grand display case holding the event's crown jewel. Without hesitation, the leader raised his pistols and smashed it down hard onto the reinforced glass. The sharp crack of splintering glass sliced through the thick haze of smoke, turning all eyes toward him. Shards rained onto the velvet pedestal as he reached down, yanking the glittering diamond necklace free from its display. The leader raised the necklace high, letting it glint beneath the flickering lights. He laughed darkly, his voice cutting through the silence like a blade. "What a waste of security," he sneered, taunting the paralyzed crowd. His gaze swept over the huddled guests, fearful faces peeking out from behind overturned tables, some clutching their phones but too afraid to act. Across the hall, staff members crouched helplessly. Hotel security lay incapacitated, some bruised and restrained, others frozen by shock. No one dared move. The entire room had fallen under the gang's control in a matter of minutes, every exit sealed, every authority figure neutralized. Jason remained in his corner, motionless, eyes sharp as steel. His drink now abandoned on the table, his posture deceptively relaxed. But his mind worked rapidly, calculating. Watching how the robbers fanned out, tracking their patterns, mentally mapping every position. He noticed the leader's subtle hand signals to his crew, directing their next steps. The leader kept checking a sleek watch on his wrist, indicating they were working on a precise timer. Jason counted the number of attackers, 6, including the leader, all heavily armed, all confident. But confidence often led to mistakes. Jason's gaze tracked how two of them circled toward the necklace's case again, readying their escape route. Smoke curled at his feet, alarms now silenced, the media and VIP guests hiding silently. For most, this would feel like checkmate. But Jason wasn't most people. The gang regrouped near the shattered case, the necklace secured in the leader's grip. One nodded toward the entrance doors, signaling the time had come to leave. Everything had gone according to plan. The guards remained incapacitated. Guests kept their heads down. Not a single soul had dared challenge them. It was done. Or so they thought. Jason's eyes flicked once more to the robber's positioning. Then, without a word, he moved. No panic. No sudden charge. Calm, deliberate, every step measured as if he had all the time in the world. His hands were empty, posture unthreatening, yet his entire frame radiated silent purpose. One of the gang members caught sight of him first, frowning slightly, unsure whether Jason was attempting to run or foolishly confront them. The leader followed his line of sight and smirked beneath his mask. To him, it looked like another wealthy guest trying to play hero. No weapon. No backup. Just one man walking toward 6 heavily armed professionals. Big mistake, the leader muttered. But Jason kept coming, steady as ever, closing the distance. The crowd, peering nervously from cover, caught on. Some recognized his face, the sharp jawline, the steely eyes. Whispers rippled through the room, hope flickering faintly beneath the fear. The leader gestured dismissively, signaling one of his men to deal with Jason quickly. He didn't realize, not yet, that this wasn't just any guest. Jason Statham had just entered striking distance. And everything was about to change. Jason advanced steadily, his steps silent but sure. His eyes remained locked on the gang, scanning every subtle shift in their stance, calculating every possible move before it happened. He came to a stop a few feet away, calm, unarmed, expression unreadable. His body blocked the nearest exit path, directly in front of the leader and his crew. The gang leader tilted his head slightly, studying him. Beneath his mask, the leader's smirk widened, dismissive. He sized Jason up in seconds, another rich guest, maybe ex-military, maybe arrogant enough to think bravery could substitute skill. To the leader, this was almost laughable. A man alone, no weapon, surrounded. Without speaking, the leader subtly gestured to his nearest henchman, signaling him to shove Jason aside and clear the path. The robbers believed they still held control, confident this lone figure posed no real threat. One of the robbers approached Jason with a cocky swagger, weapons still drawn. He glanced back at his crew, grinning beneath his mask, eager to impress. "What's your problem, mate?" the robber sneered, his voice dripping mockery. "You really think you're gonna stop us all by yourself?" Another one laughed, shaking his head. "Should have stayed hiding with the rest, old man. Brave, but stupid." They taunted him freely, believing they had numbers, weapons, and the upper hand. To them, Jason looked calm to the point of foolishness. What they didn't notice was the slight tightening of Jason's jaw, the way his hands subtly flexed at his sides. He didn't flinch, didn't blink, just stood there like a wall between them and freedom. Across the room, the atmosphere shifted. Whispers rippled among the hiding guests, faces peeking nervously from behind cover. Some mouths parted in recognition. A woman gasped softly. Others exchanged urgent looks, nudging each other. Slowly, more heads turned. Phones discreetly rose, recording. "Wait, that's Jason Statham." The word spread like wildfire, murmurs bouncing off the marble walls. People who moments ago were paralyzed in fear now leaned forward, eyes wide, sensing something was about to happen, something far different from the robbers' plan. Security guards still on the floor tried to lift their heads, catching glimpses of the unfolding scene. Guests whispered breathlessly, the energy in the room morphing from helpless terror to electric anticipation. But the gang was oblivious. The leader's gaze narrowed slightly when he noticed the crowd's focus shifting, but he brushed it off. Still gripping the diamond necklace tightly, he signaled to his men without missing a beat. "Enough," he barked. His voice cut through the murmurs. He pointed directly at Jason, voice colder now, irritation creeping in. "Take him out. Now." That was all the order needed. Weapons raised, muscles tensed, the gang was ready to pounce. Jason didn't move. But in that split second, the balance in the room tipped entirely. The crowd's breath hitched. Every eye locked onto Jason as the first robber lunged. And Jason. He was ready. The command to attack had barely left the leader's lips before the nearest robber lunged at Jason. He came fast, aggressive, weapon raised like a club, thinking sheer force would be enough to take Jason down. It was not. Jason shifted with clinical precision, stepping aside at the last moment. The first blow missed entirely. Without hesitation, Jason grabbed the man's wrist mid-swing, twisting sharply. There was a sickening crack as the robber's arm snapped clean. The man cried out, crumpling to the ground before Jason drove an elbow viciously into his temple, knocking him out cold. But there was no time to pause. Two more attackers closed in immediately from either side, both armed, both fueled by adrenaline. One swung a pistol, the other reached for Jason's shoulder to grapple. Jason ducked, his movement fluid and controlled. He caught the second man's wrist, twisting downward as he used the robber's momentum against him, slamming the man's face straight into the edge of a nearby display case. Glass shattered. Blood followed. The third robber swung wildly, trying to take Jason's head off. Jason pivoted low, dodging cleanly. He lashed out with a brutal kick, landing it hard against the robber's kneecap, bones cracking, the man dropping instantly with a howl. The leader's smirk faded as he watched his men fall in seconds. Another two rushed Jason, fueled now by frustration more than strategy. One tackled forward, aiming to overpower him with sheer weight, while the other raised a weapon to strike. Jason moved fast. Grabbing a decorative metal pole ripped from the shattered display, he blocked the weapon's swing effortlessly. In a smooth motion, he swung the pole hard, connecting cleanly with the attacker's ribs, sending the man sprawling backward. The second attacker tried to grab him in a chokehold, but Jason shifted his weight, breaking free, then delivered a savage elbow straight into the man's throat, dropping him to the floor gasping. 5 down. 1 left standing. The leader. The crowd stood frozen, mouths open, phones recording every second. Security guards, still recovering on the sidelines, watched wide-eyed as Jason dismantled the gang faster than anyone thought possible. The leader's eyes flicked between his unconscious crew and the calm, controlled figure standing before him. His bravado cracked visibly. But he wasn't ready to admit defeat. With a furious shout, he stepped forward, tossing aside the diamond necklace to free his hands. He rolled his shoulders, fists clenched, trying to intimidate. "You want it done right?" he growled. "Fine. I'll handle you myself." Jason's face remained unreadable. The leader lunged, far less precise than his crew, driven more by rage than skill. He swung heavy punches, sloppy but dangerous due to sheer force. Jason absorbed one glancing blow, stepping back, gauging. But the second swing left the leader open. Jason countered, swift and brutal, a hard shot to the ribs, followed by a sharp strike to the jaw. The leader staggered but recovered, charging again blindly. Jason dodged effortlessly, grabbing the man's arm and flipping him over his shoulder. The leader hit the ground hard, scrambling to rise. Jason did not give him the chance. With controlled aggression, Jason pinned him down, delivered 2 final punishing strikes, one to the gut, one to the face. The leader slumped, completely defeated. Silence blanketed the room. Shards of glass sparkled around Jason's feet. The diamond necklace lay on the floor, untouched. Jason straightened, breathing steady, scanning to ensure no threats remained. Satisfied, he calmly stooped, picked up the necklace, and walked over to the stunned exhibition security, handing the necklace back without a word. Around him, gasps, applause, and shocked murmurs filled the air. Cameras zoomed in. But Jason remained composed, not seeking attention, already turning away from the chaos he had just dismantled. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder by the second. Moments after Jason delivered the final blow, uniformed police officers flooded the grand exhibition hall. Weapons drawn, they barked commands, quickly securing the scene. Officers moved swiftly, handcuffing the battered gang members sprawled across the floor, one groaning, another unconscious, others too injured to resist. Medics rushed in behind them, checking on injured guards and terrified staff. Flashing red and blue lights danced off the shattered glass and polished marble floors. Amidst the chaos, Jason stood still, composed as ever. The diamond necklace rested safely in his hand. Without ceremony, he walked calmly toward one of the senior officers now surveying the wreckage. The officer, visibly stunned, took the necklace carefully, his eyes flicking between Jason and the unconscious gang leader nearby. Recognition flickered briefly across his face, but Jason offered no explanation. No need for questions. The reality was already clear to everyone. One by one, the robbers were hauled away, groaning, bruised, broken, their arrogant smirks erased. The leader, still slumped and cuffed, cast a final glance at Jason, one filled not with defiance, but disbelief. He knew this wasn't the outcome he had planned. Around the room, the energy shifted completely. The once terrified guests slowly emerged from behind cover, their cautious faces filled now with awe. Phones were out everywhere, people recording, whispering excitedly. They had just witnessed something few would ever forget. A wave of applause rippled through the crowd, hesitant at first, then louder. Some clapped in stunned silence, others openly cheered. Murmurs passed between guests as they watched Jason, whispering about his speed, precision, and the calm brutality with which he dismantled the gang. "Unbelievable," one guest murmured, still clutching their phone. Another leaned over to their friend. "He handled them like it was nothing." A few security guards, finally regaining their footing, nodded respectfully toward Jason, realizing how easily he had done what they could not. But Jason didn't bask in it. No posing. No words. Silently, he adjusted his jacket, casually dusted off his sleeve, and glanced briefly at the recovered necklace. Without a word, he turned and walked toward the exit, leaving the shocked crowd behind. The cameras kept rolling, flashes popping as he passed. Jason Statham didn't need applause. His actions had already spoken louder than anything. In the aftermath of chaos, one truth stood out clearly. True strength is not measured by words, status, or the size of the crowd behind you. It is defined by what you do when faced with danger, when others freeze, hesitate, or back away. Jason Statham's calm, controlled response amidst panic and fear proved that real courage is not loud or flashy. It is silent, deliberate, and unwavering. While the robbers relied on intimidation, numbers, and force, Jason relied on discipline, precision, and focus. Where others saw hopelessness, he saw opportunity. When the room collapsed into fear, he stood firm. In moments where everything spiraled into chaos, Jason's actions restored order, not by seeking recognition, but by instinctively doing what was right. His message was simple yet powerful. You do not need to announce strength. You show it, quietly, decisively, when it matters most. Some people steal. Some people freeze. Others record and watch. But real strength lies with those who act, those who do not hesitate when others crumble. They step forward calmly, stand between chaos and safety, and stop it cold. Jason Statham reminded everyone that night, being fearless is not about noise or show. It is about control, courage, and never letting wrong go unchecked. Heroes are not made in silence, they're revealed in how they face it.